Talking about Thomas à Becket. You got it. Because Thomas à Becket, remember how that was supposed to work? Thomas à Becket was supposed to be his Max.
They were friends.
That's right. They were friends, and Henry put him in as archbishop, and the idea was that they were together, they would have church and state wrapped up, and it was going to work fine. It didn't work because Thomas à Becket said, no, I actually take this job seriously. And Henry II got very upset and sent his guys to kill Becket. All right, fast forward. Eliza.
The Medici, besides being like high in society and being rich, are there any other details?
They were patrons of the Renaissance. They were the ones who paid for a lot of the Renaissance art. They were also the ones who managed to get their a pope in there who said, in your case, usury is okay. So in other words, they were a banking family, and that's how they managed to get the money, even though usury or banking was kind of suspect at that point. Brennan.
Was it on purpose that you skipped the Second Crusade?
Did I skip one?
The Second Crusade. It's not on here.
Yeah, well, because nothing happened.
Okay.
You know, there's not much point in talking about the Second Crusade because it was basically a non-happening.
Right.
So I don't bother with it. Gianna. Sure. 5 pillars of Islam. There's this Declaration of Faith. There is pilgrimage. There is Ramadan. There are alms to poor. What am I missing?
Daily prayer.
Daily prayers. Thank you. That pretty much wraps it up. You're supposed to pray 5 times a day in the direction of Mecca. By declaration of faith, Islam means submission or dedication. That's what it means. Dedication to Allah. And Ramadan, of course, is the month-long feast. RJ, I mean, it's fast. What am I saying?
Who was Bishop Farrer?
Bishop Farrer. Bishop Farrer was the one who Bloody Mary's men burned at the stake. And what he said was, if I flinch from the pain of the burning, disregard everything that I told you. It's a poem by Ted Hughes. And so what he did was, of course, he did scream and shriek, as anyone would, and yet his people did not. They didn't suddenly go back to being Catholic. The difference between him and Archbishop Cranmer is that, and this is back to the other Henry, so you've got the Henry II and Thomas à Becket, and then the other Henry, is Henry VIII. And Henry VIII had an archbishop whose name was Archbishop Cranmer. Archbishop Cranmer actually did, in fact, do what the king wanted and got him his annulment and so forth and so on. The problem with that was when Henry VIII's daughter, Mary Tudor, came onto the throne, Archbishop Cranmer was a Protestant. Remember that story? And he took his hand. Remember that?
Oh, he's a bad hand?
Yes. He signed a recantation with that hand, so he said, "This hand hath offended, let it burn first." So that all that packet is right in your binder with the Bloody Mary and Henry VIII and so forth. So that's how you tell it, the two Henrys. Henry II, whose archbishop did not do what he wanted, and Henry VIII, whose archbishop did. Both archbishops ended up being killed. However, one was killed by Norman Knights, and the other was burned at the stake. So it's obviously a pretty tough job being an archbishop. Huh?
What's Canossa?
Canossa is where you remember.
What?
Canossa, here, let me give you a little mnemonic device here. If you recall, at Canossa, the Pope said to me, "You are excommunicated," and I was the Holy Roman Emperor, and I said, oh dear, what shall I do?" And ended up standing barefoot in the snow for 3 days,
That was the Canossa.
at which point, that was at Canossa, yeah.
Oh, it was a place.
It was a place, yep. A place in the Alps. Sorry, Jane.
What do we need to know about Thanksgiving?
Well, the Thanksgiving is what we did that fairly recently, and remember that the original story about Thanksgiving was that it was this big, that it was, number one, the date is wrong because they probably celebrated it a good deal earlier. Number two, it was not long after that the Puritans went after their friends, the Native Americans, and killed them. And so Thanksgiving, for me, is just one of those holidays that, like, no, this is not really the true story, even though we're given this whole business about pilgrims having a great time with the Indians and it all being one big happy occasion at the end of November. Well, most of that is wrong, as usual. Eliza.
Gonzalo Guerrero.
Yeah, he's the guy that did the reverse Enkidu routine, if you recall. He was the fellow who showed up with a jade plug in his nose and said, "Are you kidding? I'm not going to come back to be a Spaniard. I'm having way too much fun as a Native American." And